everyone, welcome back to Get a Heck Yes with me, your host, Carissa Woo. I have a very special guest, Aida Glowik, and she is an intimate wedding and elopement photographer based in Germany. And she provides overwhelmed wedding photographers with the inspiration tools and resources needed to build a thriving brand and business. And she is a host of one of my favorite podcasts, My Wedding Season, the podcast where she covers various topics, including branding and marketing, organization, productivity systems, as well as income generating business strategies. Welcome, Aida.
Hey, Carissa. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. You are amazing and just a bundle of joy.
Oh,
so
thank
great
you.
to be here.
I'm so out of breath because, me and you were like locking the doors for our kids, getting the dogs upstairs, trying to figure out this technology. So, we do it all.
I'm still kind of like, okay, finally it's happening, because I was like, no, don't fail me technology right now. I was a bit nervous, but I'm just so glad we're making it happen right now.
Yeah. Don't be nervous. I was on your podcast. So you're in Germany. What time is it right now?
It is almost 7. No, it's actually 7:00 by the time we're getting this done. So it's dinner time, but the kids are fed early. So I think we're good till they want a meal again.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, and it's 10 a.m. my time. So it's so fun to have like friends across the world.
Yeah, likewise, and just making it possible with like Zoom and everything connecting the past couple of years has been incredible in that way that, we've connected with so many people around the world. It's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about you just said you got back from a vacation to France. Tell me a little bit about it, just to ease into the conversation.
Yeah, it's an island called Corsica, and we've been there, my husband and the kids, many times actually. It was the first time our little daughter got to go with us, but yeah, sometimes we do camping there. This time we got like a vacation rental and spent time at the beach, and just a good start into the wedding season for me.
Oh, that sounds so refreshing. I've been to France a couple times and I want to go back, but yeah, after like COVID, I just like been journaling like where I want to go in the future, and yeah, I have to meet you up.
Oh, definitely. Like mainland France is also, I've been everywhere, south, north, east, west. So if you ever need tips, make sure you hit me up. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I've been on your podcast all morning, and you help like overwhelm photographers. And I kind of like how you tell people like, hey, everything, especially right now, like we had a shooting in Texas just 2 days ago, and yeah, everything is very heavy. And you said like, slow down and take it easy. And you really, really, truly have a passion for helping overwhelm wedding photographers. But just share a little bit about like your journey, about like your photography, and how like why you're so passionate about helping overwhelm photographers.
Yeah, I'm passionate about it because I was super overwhelmed. The first couple years was close to a nightmare for me, because I just like got into this, like my husband was already a photographer, so I joined his business. But coming in, like I had studied something else, and being self-employed and organizing everything that goes into running a business and getting your images done, dealing with clients, I was so new to it. And by nature, I always say I am a chaotic person, and I'm a recovering chaotic person, because I just have to find my way to make it work and just really bring structure into my life, find ways to really get organized, bring in workflows, it's just not, it doesn't come naturally to me. But I realized that's the only way to have some sanity. And it just got me thinking, if I'm feeling this way, there are definitely other people out there feeling this way. And I just want to give them at least my blueprint, my advice of how I've been able to make it work. And that's what I do. I share those things.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think in the creative space, we're just taught to be like, oh, be a go-getter, like go hit the ground running, book the weddings,
yeah,
put those styled shoots, put stuff in your calendar, do free shoots, like network your ass off. And it's just like, it gets to the point where you feel like, okay, so I created this kind of circus, like, and I don't feel good about it. Like, how do I bring it back? So you're trying to help like new photographers or old photographers kind of like streamline everything, create a system so they don't have to feel this way, which we don't like feeling.
Definitely. I mean, I used to just take on weddings, whatever came my way, right? So
Mhm.
every weekend was pretty much booked up in the summer. That means by the time like September rolled around, I just had like zombie eyes from editing and always being
Wow.
on the grind. And I
Uh-huh.
realized, hey, things have to change because I can't continue this way. So it was really what I preach is planning ahead. Like you have to look at your
Mhm.
calendar and be like, okay, when am I willing to take on weddings? And which weekends am I gonna just block off regardless of what comes my way? Like this is break, a break for like a little trip to
Yeah.
rejuvenate and just get myself together. And it's not, I always say it's not just about me, but it's about my clients, right?
Mhm.
Because once I'm refreshed, I can come back with like full zest and just excitement to photograph their weddings instead of being completely drained and just dragging myself there.
Oh, I know. I just want to like make us a little like emoji with like the zombie eyes, and then that's like the name of your course or something.
Blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
zombie eye photographer.
Do you know, like, and especially like if you're living in Europe or like North in America or something, the summer you have that, and then the winter rolls around, right? So like I
Mm.
barely was able to enjoy the outside summertime, and I live right by the lake. Like I remember in those days, I would even spend like an afternoon by the lake or anything because I was just working, trying to get galleries out and just stuck at home in the office. It was super not healthy. And
Yeah.
I just knew there was a better way.
Oh, okay. We're gonna get into that for the hot topic, but let's take it back a little bit to joining your husband's company. So tell us about like how you guys met and like how long he had been photographing, and then how he kind of like roped you in both ways, romantically and business.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what happened. He actually studied like media communications. That was what he was doing for his master's, and then started doing weddings like on the side. Like a friend asked, he did it, and
Huh.
then just realized, okay, I can actually earn something. He loves photography. That's how he kind of got into it. During that time, I was doing my master's in tourism and business administration in
Oh, uh-huh.
Switzerland,
Uh-huh.
and I was doing that with his sister. So that's how we met.
Oh, crazy. Oh, so she
Yeah.
kind of hooked
So
it up.
like it's funny. She just knew that she's just like, oh, you have to meet my brother. And she was telling him, you have to meet my friend. You guys are just gonna hit it off.
Wow.
And that's what happened. First day we met. Since then we've been together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I moved to Germany. Like it's just at the border to Switzerland. I was living in Switzerland, Zurich, and I just like it was more like I just saw his lifestyle of how he's living, and that was just super attractive to me. Like I was working in marketing during
Uh-huh.
that time, and it was like a full-time job, and I was commuting, and it really was nothing for me. And I just thought, hey, you know what? Why can't I join you? I can learn this.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. So how long have you been a wedding photographer? And then when did you start the podcast? And then are you doing like education now?
yeah, I'm getting into that. So like I actually started doing wedding videography. That's
Oh,
how I joined him
uh-huh.
because he was just like, hey, a lot of my couples are saying, hey, do you offer video? And I have no one else. I'm sure like you can just manage. And I was just like, okay, like we were barely asking for any money. Like I
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
started with so little and
Oh,
then it just grew from there. So it's been about like 5 years, 6 years,
okay.
depending if you count COVID times and like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. And my podcast, like the first couple of episodes I did in 2020, and it
Okay.
was just like a super hobby. Like I didn't take it seriously in terms of like consistency or whatever. That all came about just a few months ago. And I was just like, you know what? I actually have a direction that I want to take it, and I have a few things to say and what I feel like I can add to this industry.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I just kind of got down to it, and I realized like that's another thing. I was like, a weekly podcast will be I can't manage. It's just not in my capacity with 2 kids and everything.
Uh-huh.
So it comes out every 2 weeks, and this is what I talk about. And right now I'm just like really starting to offer coaching sessions to wedding photographers to just help them get clarity in all the, like when they're so confused about what to do next steps. I'm there to help them out.
Yeah, we'll talk about the freebie at the end. So I'm super stoked about it. I listened to the part 1, part 2 of the planner. So yeah, we'll talk more about that soon. But was there like kind of like this breaking point in your business where you felt like you're just shooting like so many weddings, you know, all your summers booked up, and then you're just like, something's got to give? Like, did you like hire a
Mhm.
coach, or did you just kind of like start YouTubing stuff, or like what was your process?
Yeah, my husband never like went to workshops or did any of that thing. It wasn't really his thing. But
Uh-huh.
once I joined in, I was like all over the place, and
Mhm.
I just found photographers and was listening to like one thing I remember about like their pricing structure, because I was like, I know we're like not earning what we should be earning for the amount of work we're doing. And we were delivering so many images. Like the whole our packages made no sense. It was like per
Uh-huh.
wedding. Like I remember my husband was like delivering always like way over 1,000 images, and it didn't make sense, and we weren't happy.
Uh-huh.
So it was a process. I just knew that like we also needed a rebrand. It's,
Mm.
we needed to speak to a different clientele. And
Yeah.
so redid the whole website, and then just started to change up the portfolio, and it was just really an ongoing process, which I feel like it's always ongoing, where we're refining, tweaking all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to like tell our viewers and our listeners, like, go check out your work. It's absolutely stunning. Like everything about it just gives me like that feeling, a feeling of like
Really,
love, and like feeling of happiness, and just feeling of vibrance. So it just makes me like feel so warm inside. So definitely good
that's
job on the
so
rebrand.
kind. Thank you so much, Carissa. That's so kind.
Yeah. So how do you think you get like your heck yes from your dream client?
Yeah, I think the key is really when it comes to the brand, right? So once
Mm-hmm.
potential clients land on our website, we're very good at communicating, okay, who are we trying to reach? And
Mm-hmm.
we're also quite transparent. Like I know from a lot of people, like there's a debate of being open with your pricing online or
Mm-hmm.
sending a pricing guide and all that. Like the route we decided to go is to be quite transparent with our pricing,
Mm-hmm.
and just being very clear in our communication. And that also just really works in the market. Like we have a brand that's serving the German speaking market, which is Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and we have another brand that's like for the international market. So right now I'm just focusing on our local German speaking market, and that works so well. So by the time they inquire with us and we set up like a client consultation, they're pretty sure they're gonna book us. It's really about hashing out the details and making sure that we vibe.
Yeah.
So we just are chatting, and by the end of it, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, sounds good to us, really a high percent of the time. And we also say, hey, this is, I think we're on the same page. Every now and then, some people slip through the cracks of our branding communication and all that. And then it's just better to, when it's really a mismatch, to be like, hey, that's really not the kind of service that we offer in terms of our photography or videography. Like we think you would be better served with someone else. So
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's kind of like, yes, a heck yes.
Yeah. Heck yeah,
Yeah.
girl. That's a good
Mhm.
answer. It's kind of like when you get to that point where you get to say no to people, that's when you really feel empowered. You're like, I don't need you. You need me.
It was a long road to reach
Yeah,
here.
totally.
And I also have to say, like during COVID and all that happened, then there was a bit more lee room for us because there
Mhm.
was so much uncertainty. So I always say, like, you don't have to stick to how it is. Like just assess where you are in your business, or like the market, the environment, and just go off of that. That's how we,
Yeah. Have you
yeah.
read the book Present Over Perfect?
No, I haven't.
It's a good one to read. It's one of my favorite books, but it's about like, being a mom and being able to say no to things, and
Oh,
just like being so present with your kiddos, and just, yeah, I got to the point where in my business and I'm like looking at Instagram before I even like lay eyes on my beautiful children, you know what I mean?
whew. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like I don't want that life, and I feel like photographers
Mhm.
have to create like space and margin for ourselves to like be able to be present with our kiddos, because they grow up so
Yeah,
fast.
they do. No, it's about being intentional. So like I always recommend like taking time to like reflect, because we can be on that hamster wheel and just keep
Mm,
going, and then you look back and you're like, oh my God, how did I get here?
yeah,
So
yeah.
really being intentional with what you're doing and making sure that it's all aligned, I think is really good.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a podcasty question, but what is the
Yeah.
biggest accomplishment in your business?
Well, I love this question, but it's gonna make me think for a
Ah,
second.
sure, that's what I like. Keep you on your toes. It wasn't in the questionnaire.
um, in terms of our photography business, I think I would just say the fact that we were able to navigate out of that like low price point
Mm,
and grind to a place where we feel good. The clients that we work with are so lovely. They trust us, they just let us kind of do our thing instead of like micromanaging, which we did have in the past, where they'll come back and they'll like have these ideas. But at the end of the day, it's because we weren't very good at communicating what we do. Do you know
mm.
what I mean? So we've
Oh,
learned to like over communicate is what I say. It's everything is laid down straight.
yeah, I mean, I hate when like, the bridesmaids try to be like, hey, like I made this cool shot of the shoes. And I'm like, dude, I got like 10 shots of the shoes. Like, come on. Like, but it's like I even tell the bride and groom, okay, like show your photos. So your whole wedding, like trust me at the wedding, like engagement photos, and then like have
Mhm.
tell your bridesmaids like I'm the shit. So they don't like
Yeah,
take
like
a
I
shot.
never get that from my couples, but it does happen. Like I was a wedding last Saturday and I did have like, I don't know, a relative or someone come and she helped with the decoration. She's just trying to make sure that I really took pictures of like the setup.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
that's like the super most basic thing I would do. Of course I did, but I was just like, yeah, don't worry, I got it. But I'm just like, hey, when you do have a professional photographer there, you
Yeah.
better be sure they know what they're doing.
Oh my God, I totally know what you mean. You're like, I got
Yeah.
it. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's just like, no worries. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into our hot topic. Tell us your hot topic. You obviously told us like why it's your hot
Mhm.
topic, but just like in a paragraph, like why this is so truly important to you for wedding photographers.
Hey, photographers who are struggling to be organized, it just has a lot of negative consequences, right?
Mm,
Number one, you're super stressed out and you're not even enjoying what you're doing because you're like a hot mess, right?
mm,
And the thing is, when you don't have any structure, when you don't know what you're doing, it's going to affect your work and it's going to affect your well-being, but it's also going to affect the client experience. Because
mm.
I mean, you might not be hitting those deadlines and delivering your galleries. Worst case, it does happen to people where they haven't backed up the images and they've gone lost, or that's
Shit.
like worst case. You
Yeah,
know what I
worst
mean?
case.
Like this is all part of it. Like you need to have a workflow of like where you're saving your images, where you're backing them up, external hard drives, all these things come part of being organized. And I just know that there are people who misplace, for example, even their memory cards because they don't have a designated spot for it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy and it happens. I mean, I was never in that situation, but I'm saying it can go as far as doing that. But for the most part, when you're organized, you're really saving yourself a lot of time because you're not lost in what you're doing. You actually know what to do. A to Z is spelled
Yeah.
out. It's requiring less mental energy. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. You can just trust the process.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
Right.
that
And
language.
yeah, I just love, like, for me, it's about being at ease. That's like my number one thing where you can even enjoy the rest of your life, right? Instead of like if you have kids, you can spend the time with your kids instead of like being lost in your work and things that shouldn't be taking up your time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, yeah, definitely the backup thing is crazy. Like when I get home, even if my kid like is like crying into my arms, I'm like backing it up and like making sure like all the
Yeah.
photos are there. Like that's literally like the number one thing. But I don't know. I just feel like you're speaking like so many people's language right now, like sharing these pain points in the beginning. Like I'm sure a lot of people are just like, oh, like that's me, that's me, that's me.
Yeah, and it's even like before you go to a wedding, right? When you have like things that you do. For me, before the wedding, I have a checklist of things that I'm checking. I'm never gonna end up at a wedding and feel like I did not bring enough memory cards, that
Mm,
my, batteries are not charged. Everything has its place, it's double checked, and that's because I just learned from experience, and especially like because I do also videography, then
yeah.
I know, okay, I need different types of equipment for that. Then I go through my checklist, and then I'm super confident going there. There's never going to be a chance that like my cards are not reformatted, both cameras, their times are matched up, stuff like
Yeah,
that. Just
yeah.
be organized, and it even starts to become automatic where you don't have to refer to something, but when you just repeat it, it's just the best way.
Oh, I feel like kind of like just like this ease, like when you talk
Yeah.
about this kind of stuff, I think it's just so refreshing. So you could take us away with your tip number one. You have 3 tips.
Yeah. So the first tip is really about planning ahead. I feel like that's where it starts. Plan out your wedding season. For us, like my husband and I, we know, okay, we're going to take at least 2 trips in the summer to just ease up. So we know where to block things off, how many weddings we take on a weekend. Are we going to do like a Friday, Saturday wedding or not? How many hours is it? If I have a longer wedding on a Saturday, I'm willing to take a shorter one on a
Mm,
Friday. Everything is planned out. And then I have my digital planner that I use personally. And I even just like write down, when am I editing these images and by when am I gonna deliver them? Because I don't outsource my editing, which is also a personal choice because I love actually the editing
yeah, yeah.
process.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But even for those who are outsourcing the editing, you can say, okay, by when should I get these images back? And I love to deliver the gallery before the deadline that I've given my
Oh,
couples.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
love it. You know what I mean? So everything is planned out with some buffer. I always say, don't make it so tight that
Uh-huh.
if something unexpected comes up, that it all goes out of whack.
Yes, yeah. Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah. So like I know there's this whole thing about also over promising and delivering on that promise,
Uh-huh.
which is good. But in terms of this, I think it just like it gives you leeway
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
anything happens, right? And that element of surprise and delight when the couples are like, oh my God, we already got our images is awesome. Add a little slideshow to it as a bonus. That's what I
Oh,
do.
okay.
Just planning out for everything like that. And then I just tick everything off. I have a workflow which I go through making sure, and that workflow looks different for everyone. It's like if you're the type who's going to blog that session, by when should you blog it out? Are you going to get a testimonial from every couple? How do you go about it? Do you have a template for all those things? So just plan that out ahead of time. And it's just about also prioritizing what you need to get done.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do was when I went to like Big Bear or like a snowboarding trip, I would bring my planner and just like take time to myself and just like look at like my weddings for the year and be
Yeah.
like giddy that they're happy that you're booked out and just be like, okay, like here I have a little break. Like you said, like take that trip to weekend to
Yeah.
France or 5 days to France or go to the lake this time and like know your whole year because throughout your journey you're going to create like rhythms for yourself and you're going to
Totally.
what I used to do, like if you don't plan, like everything goes to shit. Like I would try to plan like
Mhm.
mini sessions. That was like a kind of a big mistake for me because I just planned mini sessions because everyone else was doing it. I would see on Instagram, oh shoot, everyone's doing mini marathon for spring or summer or
Yeah.
Christmas. And then it's like we get out of this crazy like wedding season. Like for us, it's like May through October, and October is shit show. Then
Mhm.
September, October, November, and then November rolls around, and then you try to do all these mini sessions, and you have no time to rest. So it's like, dude, like
Yeah.
maybe take a break. Like maybe you would just make more money like selling prints off of your wedding. So it's about planning that mindset.
It's planning, and when you talk about that, like I've never done mini sessions because I just feel like they will stress me out. and
Totally.
it's just not aligned with like what I want to do. So that goes back to being intentional and also setting your goals, like I didn't mention it before because I didn't want to go beyond the scope of what this episode is about, but that's also part of it. Like when you set a general, like your annual goals, and also break it down and knowing, okay, what am I trying to achieve? Where am I trying to get to? And sticking to it, because I know it's like that's shiny object syndrome. Some people say, you kind of get sidetracked if you look there, look here.
Yeah.
But setting out those priorities of knowing, okay, this is what I want to achieve. This is how I'm going to get there, and kind of narrowing and focusing on that.
Oh, I like how you mentioned that, because I feel like
Mhm.
when you're an entrepreneur, it's like obviously sky's the limit, but when you don't have like your goals set and you don't have a limit, like, and you create too much work for yourself, you get anxious and you start like spending more money.
Oh yeah, that does happen.
There's a ton of things to buy for kids.
I know it.
That's so funny. Okay, so I love that. So number one tip, planning, and you talked about goals, and you talked about your cool bonus, and just kind of like managing expectations.
Yeah.
Away with tip number two.
Before I go to tip number two, I just want to step back and add batch working, because I am a huge fan of batch working. Ever since I learned this, I talk about it all the time because it's just a smart way to work. It makes you more productive. Like when you just kind of put things together that are the same or similar and hash them out in one go, it's just going to make you so much more efficient. So that's like part of being organized. It's setting aside time or days or, the afternoon to be like, okay, this afternoon, I'm just really like working on this thing, you're not being distracted, and then you're done with it earlier. It goes faster. So like
your brain doesn't have to go like change shifts. Like that's really takes away time. Yeah.
Pretty much. And like depending what that task is, it could also be things that you need to get together. You don't need to always go, oh, I need to grab this and this. It's all in at one time in one go. And it's a game changer.
Oh yeah, sure. Monday, like it was like the first day of my period, and I was feeling so gross, but I just went to Starbucks and I shut off my phone, and I just was able to, like, even though I was so tired, I was just able to focus. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't work in my office because I got the dog, I start washing dishes, I start cleaning, like, it's just like too much distraction. So I'm like, feel like you just need to like lock yourself in something like for 4 hours, get that blog post done, get that editing session done, no distractions, just do it.
Totally. And like talking about cycles, that also kind of ties in with like productivity and how that works with our cycle.
Oh yeah.
Another game changer, because there's a lot of focus when it comes to, okay, are you productive in the mornings or in the evenings and stuff? And I feel like that's very like it's too limiting for people who menstruate. Like it's yes, they're night owls, early birds, but then again, if you actually start learning about the cycle, there are times in the cycle where you're feeling like you just want to relax and you're not feeling it's all about the hormone levels, and there are times where you're just so excited you can do anything. And when you have the luxury to kind of track your cycle with the things that you're doing, another game changer for sure.
Yeah, me and you could definitely talk about that. I love that topic because it's like I read that book Do Less with Kate Northrup, and
I've heard about it.
I really take it to like consideration. I'm like, okay, these weeks I'm going to be like on fire for networking. These people are going to hate you guys, so don't even like go next to people.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to be like freaking like trying to start a new business and stuff. So it is all about the hormone level. That's so interesting.
Yeah, that's so good. And point number two, we can come to it. And it's about automation.
Ooh.
The more you can automate things that don't need you, where you don't have to like manually do it, the more time you save and the more organized you can be. Like the easiest thing is even setting up these kind of calls, right? You can be setting up client calls. And when you have something like Calendly, where they can choose the date, the time, you've made it available. It's linked to your calendar. Once they book it, it's automatically setting up the Zoom meeting, is sending them the email, is sending them all like any instructions they might need. Instead of like going this back and forth, writing this every time, the amount of time you save is insane, right?
Yeah, like Calendly has saved me so much time for like, yeah, those family shoots and the podcast, because it just gives them like automatic, hey, these are my tips, upload your headshot, upload your review, whatever.
Yeah.
It saves a ton of time. What else do you automate? I know you do your editing, but do you have any other things you automate?
Yeah, I mean, it's also as simple as, for example, how you deliver your galleries. Most of us at this point are doing it online. Like people have PicTime or PixieSet. I use PicTime personally, and yeah, I love them. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out.
And the thing is also, if you're doing print sales,
yes,
that's stuff that you can automate, because you can have emails going out to your clients, promotional emails, and then they can go to the store, they can order, payments are happening. This is saving a whole lot of time, and like these are amazing things that you can automate. And another thing for sure is social media scheduling, Instagram, Pinterest, you can use Tailwind, you can use Hootsuite to plan ahead, prepare everything, and then it's just sending it out, right? It's not for everybody, but for those who want to do it, it's perfect.
I love that. Yeah, I was getting into this. I get into like negative states sometime, or like things where I forget to do stuff. Like I remember I was at church on Sunday and I'm like looking at my schedule and stuff, and I'm like, why am I even here? Like I could be at home watching cartoons. But I listened to this Rob Dial podcast. He's the mindset mentor, and it's about like being able to work and then to rest our brains and to not work. And then it really was a good reminder to me. So I'm like, okay, so when I went to Starbucks, I planned all my social media for that week, so I don't even have to really think about it too much, and just be like that super scatterbrain that we talked about. So it's just that scheduling everything, the pick time, which it also makes it beautiful. I have the 20% off for the first week, and it just forget it. It's the best feeling.
And when you said, you did your social media in one go, you're batch working it, right? You're in the zone, you got it done. And like the overall like umbrella automation stuff is when it comes to like CRM, right? If you're using, for example, Honeybook or like Dubsado, and all your client communication, contracts, things that you want to send your clients, automate it. I mean, the thing is, what scares people off is the work that comes in the beginning to get these things set up. It's super intimidating. It's a whole lot of work. You got to think it through, but the payoff is huge.
Oh, totally. My mind definitely does not work anymore with 2 kids and, the podcast, but I hire someone to set up all my flow work on Dubsado. And she has 2 kids too, but I always tell her, like, I don't know how your brain works like that. She's like carrying a kid and like going through like all the flows and stuff. I'm like, okay, my mind doesn't work like that. You could go on Fiverr. You could go and get someone, outsource it, and just help you set it up if you can't figure it out, and just get it done, because in the end of the day, it's going to help you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally worth it. I'm making my way through Dubsado just for like our other elopement brand, but my husband works on like our local German speaking. He's happy that I've told him, hey, there are other ways, but he loves the way he works. It's totally fine. But because I know Dubsado, there's so many options and stuff. It can be a little intimidating for people, but outsource is so worth it. Like delegating, outsourcing is underrated.
Yeah, and it's not even that expensive. And I like how me and you are speaking the same language of all these like different companies we're using, and we're also like across the world. Like I mentioned in Germany. That's so cool. It's like I feel like we're like next door to each other. You know what I mean?
Hilarious. It connects us all, and we have more similarities all over the world than differences. It's just a reminder again. Hey.
I love that. Okay. If you don't have anything else to add to automation tip, then take it away with your last tip number 3.
Yeah. The last tip is about creating workflows and templates, which is similar, but then again, also different. This is really talking about, for example, even your editing workflow.
Okay.
You don't just, at least when I started, it's like, I'm just putting it there. I don't know where I'm saving my data. I don't know, like, you know, even using presets is part of it, knowing, okay, like, for example, I edit some of my images in black and white.
Yeah.
Now I know, because some clients would come back and be like, hey, can I have those images in color as well? And then I had to go searching through it. It was such a headache, right?
Yeah.
So right now I already put two stars to the black and white images and 1 star to the colored images. So like as part of my workflow, and then if they have any requests, I know quickly where to find them, change them, deliver them. I know that once I've done everything, I'm uploading it to PicTime, and I'm also backing up all the, JPEGs there. Just write down exactly every workflow you have for your client journey and make sure that you stick to it, because that way, you avoid even any error, any mistakes that could happen in between. And I think it's also great for like keeping on brand.
Yeah, that reminds me, this client reached out to me and told me that she wanted 6 photos changed into color. I was like,
yeah, you want to avoid those. That's the thing, like, because I was just like, I would also get annoyed, right? And then I'll think, okay, from the client's perspective, they just want those 6 images. And from our perspective, it actually shouldn't be that hard to get it done. That means there's something wrong on our side. So it's always about, finding solutions for these kind of things and then smoothing the process.
Okay, I love this. Okay, I'm going to recap one more time. So number 1, planning. Plan ahead. You talked about batching and your goals and your bonuses. Plan. So you're not scrolling.
Yes.
Tip number 2 was we talked about the period because we can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you could do less with automation. We talked a lot about PicTime. We love it. So beautiful. Calendly. You mentioned Hootsuite. I use Planoly. Plan social media. Automate anything that you possibly can. And then tip number 3 is all your workflows. And you mentioned like just whatever you do, just write it down, write a list of everything you do. So pretty much at the end of the day, you could make things better.
Absolutely. And also just creating templates. And that could be anything like email templates, for example, right? Sometimes you just kind of get the same type of questions from clients. And when you have it already organized, like all your answers, that is just going to serve them well. You don't need to rewrite it every single time. You perfect it once, you personalize it on top, and you send it out.
Oh, I love it. What is your woo factor? What makes you stand out?
So I can answer this in 2 different ways, in terms of me as a person or as a photographer. But I think as a person, I like to think of myself as approachable.
You are.
So when I have client calls, I just want to make sure that they feel comfortable and they can really express all their wishes. And just, I aim to just be transparent and honest. And that's how I build trust with my clients or potential clients. And I think that does translate to the business as well, right? My husband's also similar. We're very, very similar. And that's kind of what we try to bring to the forefront, to build trust with our clients, to know that, hey, we are going to do an amazing job for them, as long as, they're the right fit clients and we're the right fit photographers, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, you are super approachable. I love that about you. You gravitated towards my area in LA, but all of
I have so much family in LA, California general. So cool. I will hit you up when I make my way over.
Yeah, please do for sure. Okay, so rapid fire questions. Let's see, what's the hardest part about working with your hubby?
Whew. Sometimes I have some ideas and he just doesn't see it, it doesn't happen as often. So I need to convince him.
Okay.
And I guess that would be the hardest part, but spending time together is actually not hard. where a lot of people
Oh,
assume, okay, aren't you
oh,
guys sick of each other? No.
oh. That's cute. My husband shot like one wedding with me and he was just like, I think it was like cocktail hour and he's like, "Hey, can I go home?" And I was like,
Oh,
"What?" But
no.
yeah, I guess he was hungry and he needed a beer. So and after he's like, "Oh, it's super fun," but he never came back.
Oh my,
Went
no,
to
like
another wedding, yeah.
I'm not always on weddings with my husband. We're usually like separate,
Mm.
but sometimes we're together. And that's usually if I'm doing the videography or they need two photographers. But for me, it's awesome because like he's such a gentleman. Like he'll carry my bags all
Uh,
the no matter what, like stairs. And then he's like carrying everything. He's like, you've just come along. And I'm like, I miss that when I'm alone on
Oh,
weddings.
that's so sweet. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds like magical to me. Like carry my stuff always. Like let me just carry one camera and then be cool.
Yeah, no, it's perfect because he's always thinking, hey, it's hot, grabs me water and stuff, and is checking on me. So I love it.
He was raised so well. Okay, what is your favorite or best organizational parenting tip?
Whew. Organizational parenting tip.
I don't have any.
I was just like, am I supposed to have one? Oh my God. I just give myself a lot of grace with this
Mhm.
whole parenting thing, but also trying to make sure, hey, that the kids are okay and being intentional. And like one of the reasons that I had to go hardcore on being organized in my business is because I got kids, even especially,
Oh,
like now that we have two,
totally.
I was like,
Yeah.
no joke. Like, it's different from when you're not a parent.
Yeah, we're forced to. We're totally forced to. It's
Yeah.
not like we just can't. It's yeah, you have to be super organized. Like our brains are working like a bazillion miles an hour, so our business has to be put
Yeah.
together.
And it's really kind of really working with my husband and kind of saying, for example, okay, even with my podcast and everything, planning it with my husband, hey, your calendar needs to be open at this time. Is it, putting all my important stuff into his calendar so he can watch the kids and, just working together on stuff like that.
Oh, I love it. And your podcast is just
Mhm.
going to do so well. And I feel like, us podcasters for Wedding Pros, we need to stick together. So we need to be in each other's lives like forever.
Yes, I absolutely say yes to that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So tell everyone about your freebie, which is the craziest freebie ever that's ever been on this podcast, and then where to find you.
Woo. Yeah, so originally I made a physical planner and yeah, it just didn't make sense. And I couldn't get it to everyone in the world. How can I do it? Making a digital planner,
Uh,
finding out that that is possible just was amazing. So I spent the winter working on my iPad, figuring it out, talking to photographers who had bought my physical planner, asking them, hey, what was missing in that? Making all the tweaks possible. And yeah, ended up making this digital planner and it's available for free for anyone. You just need to go to the link, which I'm giving Carissa. It will be in her show notes. And you can download it. And the 2023 version is also going to be free. So come back to my website and get that for you.
oh, that's so generous. And I love the concept how you have to download like a note app and then like have a stylus and then use your iPad. And I'm like, how badass would that look? Like me, like with the iPad with like a nice little stylus pen and be like, look at my weddings this year and look at my clothes. And like, having potential clients see that and they're gonna be like, whoa, like she knows what she's doing. She's going to deliver. Like it just
Oh,
looks amazing.
absolutely. Yeah, I did that one time. Like, I haven't met my clients in person in a while, like for consultations, except this one time they insisted. So we met outside, COVID and everything. And I had my iPad and everything. And I felt pretty good about it. I was like, this looks pretty professional.
Totally. Oh my God. And
Yeah.
everyone like knowing that everyone like wedding photographers are gonna use this around the world, that is really, really cool. Something to be proud of.
Yeah, it just makes me happy when I just hear feedback and they're like, hey, it actually super helped me get organized and have an overview. I feel like that's the key word when it comes to this planner is like, I've done everything possible and different options so that you feel like you have an overview, an annual overview, you have a monthly overview, then you have your weekly stuff. I have a part where you can have checklists and everything's super flexible for you to make it work for your business.
Yeah, cool. I'm so happy for you. Okay, so tell everyone where to find you and your very lasting advice for any wedding photographers, just anything.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, which is at Aida Glowik, and it's a W, so AIDAGLOWIK, because it's a German name.
Yeah.
And then you can go to www.wedding-photography-podcast.com. That's like my website for my podcast and all little blogs and articles that I write. And also the digital planner is there to download. And my advice for wedding photographers is actually just do the work now. It's hard to get organized and set things up, and then enjoy the fruits of your labor for years to come.
Yay, mic drop.